Welcome, welcome to the Alpha Male 2.0 podcast, where we discuss freedom-focused lifestyle design for men, dating all the women you want non-monogamously, even if you're married or have a serious girlfriend, without any cheating or any drama or any problems. Having location-independent income, having complete freedom of your lifestyle, as we talk about here at Alpha Male 2.0. If you didn't know or weren't aware, I have another podcast called the Sovereign CEO Podcast. That is where we talk about business and five flags, international stuff. That is at calebjones.com/podcast. And it's hosted there at all the usual podcast platforms. Today, I'm going to talk about something that I have mentioned before in videos and podcasts. I did one brief YouTube video on this. I've discussed this in our membership program more than I've discussed this publicly. It's something I'm doing in my personal life, and I get a lot of questions, a surprising number of questions about this. I'm always intrigued by the topics you guys decide to ask me questions on. Often I'm very surprised. You guys care about this? So this is something out of my life, my personal life. What I'm describing will not apply to the vast majority of you, but enough of you have asked about this where I'm happy to discuss this. Maybe it will apply to you at some point in your future, and it will apply perhaps to some of you. And that is a new relationship type that I am working on creating in my life that I've never done before. Now, to be clear, to give you context, especially if you're relatively new to these topics, Alpha Male 2.0, we talk about three relationship types really quickly. They are FB, that is a friend with benefits. That is a woman you have sex with, but she's your friend. You're not dating her. So you don't go out on dates. You don't spend the night. You don't go on trips with her. She's your buddy. She's your friend you have sex with. You're not dating her. And obviously it's non-monogamous because you can have as many FBs as you want. Then you have the MLTR. That is a woman you are dating, but non-monogamously and non-exclusively. So it's a woman you're dating, you go on dates, you really do like her, you're having sex, it's all good stuff, but you can have multiple MLTRs. You're not committed to her and she knows it. You could date other women, you can have sex with other women, you can have multiple FBs, you can have multiple MLTRs. Then there is OLTR, and that is the alpha male equivalent of a girlfriend. And that is a woman where you are emotionally exclusive, but you are sexually non-exclusive. That means that if you have an OLTR, she's your girlfriend, and that's how you identify her, most likely. And you can have sex with other women, but you can't date other women. So you can have an OLTR and multiple FBs. So all the women you have sex with are either one-night stands or FBs, that's it. You cannot have MLTRs when you have an OLTR because then you're dating someone and you're violating the emotional exclusivity that you've committed to. Okay, that's an OLTR. Then a subset of OLTR is OLTR wife. That is an OLTR you move in with. Whether or not you're legally married doesn't matter, but if you live with her, she basically becomes your de facto wife because you live the lifestyle of a married man. I have an OLTR wife. My wife is Pink Firefly. I can have sex with other women, and I do every week, but they are just FBs. Okay? That's the model that I have. But now before Pink Firefly, for over 10 years, I had multiple MLTRs, 2 to 3 MLTRs at a time, and 2 to 5 FBs at a time, depending on how busy I was with work. So these are the three relationship types that we talk about. I've mentioned this before, and again, this is just something from my personal life. My ideal scenario at this point in my life as a man in his 50s, a high-income, busy business owner who is in his 50s, who has already had sex with a bazillion women and has already lived all my sexual fantasies I've ever had, and that's literal, with many different people. It's been great. At this point in my life, here's the configuration that I would like best. What I would like is, and again, I'm not projecting this on you. You probably would hate this, or you might like this. Depends on how old you are, depends on where you are in life, depends on how many women you've had sex with, all those other things. But anyway, right now, in terms of my life, just for me now, what I would like, my Disney, my fairy tale fantasy is I have my wife, Pink Firefly, OLTR wife, and then I have this other woman who is just a singular individual woman, not a bunch of women, just one. And this woman is not an FB, but not an MLTR either. It's something else. It is a woman who I see on a regular basis. Pink Firefly has met her and accepts her and likes her. It's a woman who I see more often, perhaps, than an FB. It is a woman who has made long-term commitments to me, and I have probably made some long-term commitments for her. And that way I'm with 2 women. Now, the only time I would have sex with women outside of this dyad, that's what that would be called, 2 women. The only time I would have had sex with women outside of these 2 women is if I was traveling or something. So if I, go to some distant land for a month and neither of these 2 women are with me, then I would probably hook up with women there. But other than that one exception, I would stay exclusive, more or less, sexually exclusive to my wife, Pink Firefly, and to this other woman. And so this other woman, because this other woman would not be an FB, would not be an MLTR, be more than an FB, but it would be something different than an MLTR. If I were to fall in love with this woman, that wouldn't work for my OLTR marriage because I've made commitments to my wife that I won't do that. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to be in love with two women. I don't want two wives. I've discussed this in detail in my blogs, videos, articles. Having multiple wives is a nightmare scenario. I can't believe men even fantasize about this. It's the stupidest thing on earth. You will have nonstop drama, and men with multiple wives always do. So I don't want multiple wives. So we're not talking about another wife. We're also not talking about a side girlfriend because I don't want that either. And I don't think Pink Firefly would like that. Matter of fact, I know she wouldn't like that. But it's someone that is going to be more strong than an FB. It'll be something beyond an FB, but not to the level of OLTR, and it wouldn't be an MLTR. It'd be something else, something I have never done before. Right now in my head, in terms of assigning a label to this type of relationship, I have in my head the term super FB, which I don't like, or SFB. I don't like that term, and once I actually end up doing this, if I ever end up doing this, we'll talk about it in a minute, I will probably come up with a better term for this because I don't really like that term. But that's the term I'm kind of using in my head right now is SFB or super FB. So here's kind of how things have worked out with this. I've been working on this for about, a year, maybe a year or so, maybe a little longer than a year. And at the outset of this process, I said publicly, this is going to take me at least a year, if not a year and a half or 2 years to actually figure out because I got to go slow with this stuff. It's something I've never done, so I don't want to rush it. And I'm in no rush, by the way. I got plenty of FBs. I'm a very happy boy. Don't worry about that. By the way, that's the scenario now. For those of you who don't know, I have an OLTR wife and I have multiple FBs, all of whom I like very much in many countries all over the world. That's complicated for me. Now, you may be asking, let me address that question. Well, Caleb, why would you want one FB when you have all these FBs? Because it's complicated. It's complex. I'm a busy guy. I got shit to do. Managing all these women, managing appointments, all these different women, which women are in which countries. It's a pain in my ass. I don't like doing this. Now, again, context, I've had sex with a huge number of women. The number of women I've had sex with is significant. I'm not going to give you the number because that causes arguments and haters and nitpickers, but it is a huge number. Okay. So back in the old, 15 years ago, I would have said, yeah, I want to have 20 FBs. This is great. But I'm not there in my life right now. And you might be thinking, maybe if you're a younger guy, I'd love to have 5 FBs. That'd be awesome. Great, do that. I did that. Fine. I'm talking about for me at this point in my life, where I am now, my experience level with women. I've done all that stuff. Been there, done that. I'm good. I just want to have one, and then maybe a backup in other countries or something like that. So anyway, that's my rationale. And again, if you don't agree with that, then please do what you want. The beauty of the Alpha Male 2.0 relationship model is you can design it and customize it for exactly what you want. Okay. So here's what I've done in the past year and a half or so. First, I sat down and talked to Pink Firefly about this. I said, hey, would you like it? Would you like it better or dislike it less if I was with one woman instead of all these women? And she's like, well, yeah, I would like that. I said, okay, that's kind of what I want. She goes, okay. And when I started to pursue this with Pink Firefly's assistance, because Pink Firefly will have to accept this woman. Pink Firefly have to know who this woman is, have met this woman. She's met many of my FBs, have met this woman and accept this woman. Now, let me discuss that for a second. When you attempt this with a wife or girlfriend, every woman is different. Some women will be threatened by this. Some women won't be threatened by this. Some women will be threatened by certain things. Other women will be threatened by other things. So the way Pink Firefly works is that, as I've discovered throughout this process, is that she wants the woman to be hot, but not, quote unquote, too hot. To Pink Firefly. Now, Pink Firefly has a different version of a female 10 in her head than I do. And I've discussed this. When someone says this woman is a 10 and someone else says this woman is a 10, you're going to get two different looking women. That's why there's no such thing as an objective 10. So what Pink Firefly considers her version of a 10 is different than my version of a 10. So if this woman was her version of a 10, she would get very nervous and very uncomfortable. Matter of fact, there have been several FBs I've had in the last year or two who were her versions of a 10. And either my version of a 10 or close to it. And she got very uncomfortable. And the older Pink Firefly gets, she's 43 now, although she doesn't look it, the more uncomfortable she will become with this. That's just part and parcel of being a woman, certainly and especially an attractive woman. So it's been an interesting process where Pink Firefly wants this woman to be pretty, but not quote unquote too pretty. So that's A. B, the next thing I've discovered is that although Pink Firefly likes the idea of having one woman on the side instead of multiple women on the side for me, it is concerning for her that this relationship would be more than an FB. And we've had several discussions about this where she has encountered women who I've brought in as candidates for this. And I'll just use an example. So there was a thing we tried last year where she met a sweet young lady who I thought was very hot and she thought was pretty hot. And this person would have been perfect. And we did a little thing where Pink Firefly watched me have sex with this woman because that's what Pink Firefly's into. Yes, I have a rough life, I know. And Pink Firefly didn't like it. And the reason she didn't like it is she said, you know what? You like her. You like this girl. I said, what do you mean? She goes, well, you like her. I said, well, I like all my FBs. I'm friends with everybody. She goes, no. I've seen you with other women and you just treat them like FBs, but you treated her more nicely like a girlfriend. Now, to be clear, I didn't treat her like a girlfriend, but Pink Firefly was right. I treated her nicer than I did with a normal FB. And that's kind of the plan. Is this isn't an FB, this is a super FB. And so Pink Firefly didn't like that. And I had to explain to Pink Firefly, okay, now that woman didn't work out, but I had to explain to Pink Firefly, sweetheart, if we do this, if I limit myself to one woman other than you, then it is going to be a closer relationship than it has been with my FBs in the past. Yeah, that's how it's going to work. And it was hard for her to go like, well, yeah, but yeah, okay, but yeah. It was hard for her to wrap her brain around that concept because Pink Firefly is going to get jealous if she feels there's an emotional component to my sexual activities with women who are not her. So Pink Firefly is actually kind of conflicted about this, interestingly. And I don't want to put words in her mouth. I'll do another YouTube video where we do a Q&A with her and we can discuss that topic in a video where and you can get her side of the story. But I know Pink Firefly pretty well. We've been together almost a decade. I think I know her pretty well. She's conflicted about this. On one hand, she thinks it'd be great if I had just one woman. But on the other hand, she finds it disconcerting that I would like this woman more than a typical FB. Not a girlfriend, not a wife, but more than an FB. So it's hard for her to kind of get this in her head. I think her fantasy would be that it would just be one woman and it'd be a pure FB and that's it. But it wouldn't be if this is a long-term relationship I'm going to have. So Pink Firefly understands these concepts logically, but Pink Firefly is a girly girl and logic is not her strong suit, especially when it comes to relationships. So that's a challenge that we've had, is that on one side she wants this, but on the other side she doesn't want that. There have been about 2 or 3 candidates for this, and none of them have worked out yet for these reasons. For mostly these reasons. There's been 1 or 2 other women I've talked to that didn't work. So here's the other side of it. When I tell women about this, when I explain this to women, hey, what I want to do is have just one woman I see, and I'm thinking that you might be a candidate for this because I really like you. You're a great person, blah, blah, blah. So first of all, number one, I've had no woman, except for one I'll talk about in a second, react with strangeness, like, oh, that's really weird. You want me to be your side girl with your wife? Every woman I have pitched this to, except for one, and you'll find out in a second why she didn't like this, except for one, go, oh my God, that's perfect. You're describing the perfect relationship. Literally, you're describing, Caleb, you're describing, I want to do this with you. You're describing the perfect relationship where I can have a relationship with a married man who has an open marriage with his wife, who likes me and is part of my life, but he's not my boyfriend, he's not my husband, he doesn't tell me what to do, but he's long-term and consistent. And these women love this, especially women in their 20s who I've talked to about this. They think it's fun. I mean, I was shocked at how excited women were about this. I mean, I've had more women say that's like, what you're describing is literally like the perfect relationship. That's exactly what I want. Now, key point, women in their 20s. I did pitch this to a woman who was over the age of 32. I've talked about the age of 33. I think she was 30, was she 32 or 33? She was right at that age. I'm talking about women over 33? Yeah. And she basically reacted with horror. Like, well, wait a minute, I'm not doing that. I want to settle down. I want a boyfriend. I want to get married. So F you. She didn't say F you, but she was like shocked and horrified that I even bring that up. And as I left her apartment after having that discussion with her, I'm like, oh yeah, of course. She's over age 33. She's a provider hunter. She would hate this. So food for thought, if you're attempting this yourself, you're really talking about women who are well under the age of 33. Now, to my point that I've mentioned earlier, I don't want to do this with a 19-year-old or a 20-year-old. That's not going to be consistent. I want someone who is solid and consistent. The women, just so you guys know, the women I have been looking at in terms of age ranges for this are women between the age of 25 and 27 for the most. 25, 27, 28. I think one was 24, I think. That's kind of who I have in mind for this, because those seem to be the women who are A, excited to do this, and B, are reliable. Because I want this woman, this future woman, this possible woman, to be reliable. That's one of the main reasons I'm doing this. I don't want to have people cancel and I got to reschedule and figure out I hate that stuff. I want one person who's hardcore reliable. So that means I don't even pitch this to a woman until she's been very reliable with me up until that point. Something else, I've also pitched to Pink Firefly the concept of me bringing someone into Dubai, someone from another country. Because maybe this person wouldn't live in Dubai. And she didn't like that idea. She didn't say no, but she didn't like that idea. So I don't know about that. I don't care, frankly, who this person is or what nationality she is. I don't care. As long as she's hot, and reliable and a good person, I don't really give a shit about these kind of things. So that's where I am with that. It is possible this will fail. It is possible that that this won't work. And I'll have to just stick with the model I have now of one OLTR wife and multiple FBs. That is entirely possible. This may not work. This is why I'm not teaching this, because I haven't done it yet. One of my core concepts and my core standards for myself is I don't teach anything unless I've done it myself. I haven't done this. I'm just describing to you my experiences so far. The other side of this too, really quick, is that since moving to Dubai, Pink Firefly's jealousy has gone up a little bit because of the transition to Dubai, some of which has been difficult for her. So I've kind of put this on temporary pause for a little bit as she gets settled here in Dubai, and then re-up this maybe in a month or two. But as we keep going with this, I will give you occasional updates. I talk about this much more in our coaching programs, and we have several coaching programs now, so I talk much more about that there. More details if you want to look at those. But that's where I am on this. And if you have any questions, let me know. And certainly if you want me to update you on this, I certainly will. And I will see you in the next podcast next week. Have fun. Bye.